Hi, I wanted to briefly comment on a video I saw where Francis Chan was doing I think it was on a podcast with Lecrae, and he mentioned that 7 years ago he was 90% sure God loved him, but he wasn't 100% sure. He wasn't 100% sure he was going to heaven. He referenced lordship salvation, that Christ should be Lord of every part of his life, which he is, right? Um, but he said he couldn't be sure because if he lusted, he would think, well, maybe, obviously God's not Lord of that part of my life, which really speaks towards this idea of like sinless perfection if Christ is Lord of every part of our life, which we won't have. We won't have sinless perfection. Otherwise, Paul wouldn't be writing about, cast off the deeds of the flesh. We wouldn't be encouraged to walk according to the Spirit so that we don't fulfill the lust of the flesh. But he said that this would get him into conversations back in whenever where I don't think that person's saved or whatever because they were supposed to test their faith, and this comes from 2 Corinthians 13:5, where it says, "Test yourselves to see if you are in the faith. Examine yourselves, or do you not recognize this about yourselves, that Jesus Christ is in you, unless indeed you fail the test." And that's where this really comes from. But in the context, Paul was writing to the Corinthian church about those who had been living in sin and had not repented from that behavior, not turned from that behavior. He goes on to say, "But I expect that you will realize that we ourselves do not fail the test." For 2 Corinthians 13:6. He encourages them to do nothing wrong in verse 7, and later he says he's encouraging them because he doesn't want to come and be severe with them. In other words, he doesn't want to be chastising them about their sin. The issue is not their salvation, but rather that they realize their position in Christ. So we really need to get away from looking at ourselves for confirmation of our salvation. That will lead to doubt because we are not perfect. We need to look to God, and believe His promises, not the evidence of what we may see, because we may see and undoubtedly we will see more and more of our sinfulness, which we need to take before the throne and confess and seek the Lord's mercy and grace to deal with. But sinless perfection is not something that we're guaranteed in this life. We're guaranteed sinless perfection upon glorification at the end. That is our hope in Christ. So I hope this helps. Let me know what you think in the comments below. Thanks.